It is Thursday, rawmike.richards.com. Broadcasting live from 234 King Street East in downtown Toronto. From the Pacific Junction Hotel, the glassed-in surroundings, the magic, and the mystery. Busy show today. Confirming word that we're going to talk to Georges Laraque. Of course, his name came up yesterday. Will Strickland, who I thought gave a great understanding of what happens in America, also gave a shout-out to George. I don't know if George got it, but he's probably going to hear some of it today. He, of course, making statements about the Pittsburgh Penguins accepting the invitation to go to the White House, saying that that's the last place the Stanley Cup should be. He also is a host on 91, what was it? 91.9
Sports, Montreal.
Yeah, en français.
Ah oui.
I don't know how much talking about last night's preseason game they're going to do. That pretty much was a full roster I see against a Leaf team that did not necessarily brag about those on the ice. But that's what preseason is. I don't think anyone gets too excited about it.
Oh, this
well,
guy
most
does.
people don't.
This guy does. This
But
guy's
apparently,
jacked.
Marner Jr. over there, you were very excited about that win last night. I mean, you were walking in, you were like moonwalking. I see in the bar over there. I'm like, why is he so happy? Why are you so happy today? Yeah,
I just more find it funny. I know it's
you
preseason.
weren't saying funny. You weren't going ha ha.
I love it.
Oh yes, you do.
I love it. I just find it hilarious. Then again, preseason, Colorado went undefeated last year in the preseason and ended with 48 points. So
they'll match that this year too. By the way, that's how good they are.
Carey Price was in goal. Now you've got a picture. I know you're dying to show this picture. It's certainly not the biggest picture we'll be showing today, but I know that so the final score was make the final Leafs 4-2.
Yep.
What? Wait a minute. I thought we were showing Leaf highlights and
No, this is it.
It's a shirtless.
Yep. This was him last night after the win.
Okay, so I guess that's not the picture I thought I was going to show. That's not right. But
yeah, the Leafs got some goals from some heavyweights yesterday. Carrick, Marincin, Borgman, Andreas. I guess Johansson, right? Is it Johansson? Yeah,
Johansson.
Funny story about
Marincin. Isn't that the one you thought that maybe shouldn't be on an NHL roster? Wasn't that what you
ever? Yeah,
ever. Oh, yeah. That was a little harsher than I thought.
Yeah. Well, let's just say if he comes out on Thursday nights to play with our rec league team, I don't know if I'm handing him a jersey. I'm just being honest.
You're just saying thanks, but
yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
no, I didn't call your name.
Yeah,
I didn't call your name.
You weren't part of it, and then we go up to Jim, and Jim gives me his $10 to play for that one time because it's $10 a player to rent the ice, and Martin doesn't. I don't ask Martin for his $10.
And you're like, no, we're good. But thanks. Yeah. Team Canada 1972 is a blog I see that just started following us.
Yes.
Of course, this is a big day. This is the anniversary, once again, of the Paul Henderson goal.
The greatest goal in hockey history.
It says Pat Stapleton today on our show at 10:30 a.m.
Yeah, he was supposed to be. But you know what? You want to phone Pat too after Cammy? Because I got Pat's number. I honestly do.
Well, sure, we would. I mean, look, for those of us who...
He was originally supposed to be on the show.
Yes.
And then I never heard back from him until, I guess, right now.
Publicly.
I'm not joking.
Well, hey, you know what? We'll work it in. Are you kidding? Yeah.
So we'll go Cammy a little bit earlier, so 10:25-ish, and then we'll go Pat at about 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick's going to be really pissed off because he's been waiting. Okay. He's been waiting for his comedy corner for 2 days now,
and it was a smash hit the first time around.
Keeps getting bumped.
It's like the world tour is going to start building in different cities, and they're going to be requesting Bill to come to our city, Bill.
Yeah, but Victor Newman passionate picks for sure we do. We'll definitely get that in. And again, Team Canada. Wow. If you're talking about 1972, again, depending on your generation. These just literally might be old, washed out images that you've seen from years gone by that you can't really connect to. You probably, you obviously are familiar with some of the names, You're probably familiar with the Paul Henderson goal, but I wonder, Dave, if different generations, because you talk about these big world moments in Canadian hockey, and then people start, like they like to do or wanting to do, they put the most significant of those wins in order. And like I said beforehand, I'm not really one that likes to make those kinds of comparisons generation to generation just because it's so different. Mm-hmm. How do I take a look at a Team Canada back in those days that didn't do any training at all? Like when you finished the season, which by the way was in May. It was in May. You finish in May, and then you go to the cottage or the cabin or wherever you happen to be from, and you have lots of steaks and beer and bacon, and then in September-ish, you show up to work off your fat.
Basically, yeah.
That's how it was. So these guys, the pre-scouting told them that they weren't very good, especially their goaltending. The goaltender they had that was their star, someone by the name of Tretiak, was not very good.
And as the junior B goalie. As
the story goes, he had been, I think, at his brother-in-law's. It was stag the night beforehand. He was hungover. He was still probably half in the bag. And so when they scouted him, he not surprisingly, looked terrible. So you had the Bobby Clarks of the world, Cornwall. The only one that really wasn't there was Bobby Orr. But if you look at the picture of 72,
Bobby Hall. Bobby
Hall was there?
Yeah. No, Bobby. No, that's
or Bobby Hall wasn't there. There was WHA, right?
And that's because of the NHL frowned upon WHA players.
They were all out.
Bobby was with the Winnipeg Jets at the time. Thank you, Bobby. And it was one of those things where
I don't need to go to Russia, although the vodka's great. Some of the broads are a little big. That's why you got the vodka. Get it? But Bobby Orr is in the picture. People don't realize it. Bobby Orr is in the roster picture of 1972. That's how badly they wanted him there. But his knees were so bad at that point that he didn't go. So you end up having this series where, again, you know how it goes. It starts in Montreal. I was in my grandparents' place in Hamilton. I was at a Silver Stick tournament, getting ready. Now, that might be the picture. Is that the one? And can you see Bobby in there? I think he's on the end of one of those pictures.
Yeah, they list him. They list him on the roster too.
Yeah. Oh no, because they're like, well, how can you not have? That would be like having a team right now, and Sidney Crosby not being on it. Like it wouldn't be a young guy; it'd be a guy towards the end, but still substantial. So, or Gretzky. I mean, it's tough to really put Bobby Orr in a category because when you say Bobby Orr, he literally is a god among men and always will be, and always will. And for some people, the best player who ever lived. There's an argument about that, and people look at back and they say, yeah, but what about Bobby Orr compared to Wayne Gretzky? You can't do that. It's just, I know people do, but it's just, I think Clark Judge and I got into that conversation.
Yep.
Even, Dave, look at the skates. Look at the sticks.
Bingo.
Look at the training. Now, the training regimen, most of what we know now comes from that time. In 1972, the Russians basically we're using techniques that we use now. I mean, dry land training, the stuff with, playing soccer, in the hallways and all those different, sort of calisthenics and just the understanding of core, the Russians were doing back in 72. Our guys were not. And then a couple of guys got sent home. I think it was Vic Hadfield.
Yeah, a couple of guys got sent home and wanted to leave, actually.
Vic Hadfield, they said, and you have to realize Vic Hadfield for the Rangers was a massive name. I mean, he was one of the leaders of the NHL, especially when it came to the New York Rangers. And they're like, Vic, your attitude, you got to go. And they did this, and that's when these games happened against what? They had Sweden in the middle. So in the 4 games in Canada, and then the 4 games, they had those games in the middle. Sweden was some of those games, and that's where they decided some guys had to go home. Like it was, and again, because we'd never really seen a tournament like this before, and we were really young, and we're looking at our greatest stars, and they're losing. And the booing that takes place, and that, of course, the famous Phil Esposito, hell, we're trying. We're trying. I cannot believe that we're getting booed by our own people, that whole thing. And as that is happening,
massive.
I'm almost like we're all basket cases. And they go and they lose the first game in Moscow, and that's when Paul Henderson gets up and guys, we can win this thing. Oh, shut up, Paul. You shouldn't even be on the team. I mean, that was kind of the feeling, right? It's like Paul Henderson was not one of the stars of the league at that time. No. He really, truly wasn't. He wasn't. I mean, Ron Ellis was on that team, but Paul, and then Paul Henderson, and hand to God, as he would say, he ended up being the freakishly best player on the ice every time he took a shift. He had goals disallowed. I mean, he scored almost all the winners, including the most famous goal of all time. So today, we certainly celebrate that and the influence that had on hockey in general. To me, that's why it was the greatest series of all time, because it was the hardest series of all time in terms of, the Iron Curtain, the Cold War, Alan Eagleson, Jean-Paul Parise.
Bingo.
It's hard to explain just how groundbreaking it was. And at a time where the Russians were always the evil enemy. And I look at this day and age, and if I said to the average, like Russell, who's the arch enemy of Team Canada? Who's the team, and what is the nation that you want to see them beat the most? Is it the Russians?
It's Russia.
You think it is Russia?
For him, still, yeah. That's
I know.
Interesting.
That is interesting, because I didn't think you were going
me,
to say that country.
I guess for personal experience, it's USA.
Right.
But for the history and me knowing the history, it's still Russia.
See, because I would say most guys your age are saying U.S. Team USA.
He's an old folk by heart, though, eh?
He's the old historian.
Yeah, he's the old historian.
In a very young, virginal body.
Don't know about that.
Now, I don't have that great moment. Of course, Foster Hewitt, that was one of the amazing moments of its time. They brought him out of retirement.
That's right.
And a lot of
funny story too. Foster was doing the television at the time, and Bob Cole was doing the
radio.
Yes,
that's true.
A lot of people don't know that. I actually talked to Bob about that when he released his book last year, and a lot of people know the Foster call, but Bob was on the radio side, and the handoff between the two actually started, a little bit before that, but kind of continued throughout '72, and Bob kind of took the reins and so forth. But he was doing radio at the time.
Well, they also brought Foster back for another Canadian national team just a couple of years ago. It didn't go as well. It was our national soccer program.
That's true.
And they played. It was in Honduras, and
this was not a good result.
No, it truly was not. It wasn't good.
And now Team Canada trying to get it over. Oh, no, here's Ramirez. He's going right in. Oh, he shoots, he scores. Ramirez. And Honduras leads 1-0, beating Dryden on the short side. Here's another shot. Now here's Perez. Oh, he scores. He shoots, he scores. Perez. As Park was out of place. Now it's 2-0. Now it's stolen by Sanchez, going right in on goal. He scores. And now Team Canada in tremendous difficulty. Here comes Honduras. Team Canada changing on the go. Here's another chance. He gets by White. Goes right in, he scores. And now it's becoming a rout. Although I've noticed some of the girls in the crowd and me so horny. Oh, here's another chance. Oh, they score. And Esposito was beaten again by the darker fellow. And that's the final. 8-1, the only goal scored by Jean-Paul Parise. And it's a tremendous defeat for Team Canada. And here come the Honduras team. They're pouring over the boards. And the crowd is going wild.
You know what? And thank God the soccer program's gotten a lot better since then.
It has got a lot better since then. And so now, through the magic of Skype, we are looking for Georges Larac here on rawmickrichards.com. This is, again, the tension.
It's building.
That we have. And
S'il vous plaît, veuillez me laisser un message. Please leave a message.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, that is Georges. Je suis Mike Richards de rawmickrichards.com. I will try again, mon ami. I thought that was
that's a good message.
That's not bad.
You weren't ready for that
No,
either.
I was not.
That was
No.
right on.
Come on.
That was like Russell Graham's improv class tonight. Or no,
Oh,
I
you're
should
not
say
taking-
on Wednesday. Last night.
You
okay.
did an improv
He
thing?
does an improv
Oh
thing.
my God! So
For the semester. It's one of my courses at school.
Yeah. Gee, I got to tell you, the educational pressures that they have on the youth today,
yeah.
really tough. What was the other one? Watching a hockey game or something? Oh, I got to tell you.
What's tomorrow? Sandbox?
Yeah. Don't forget your nachos, kids. What was your thing last night? What did you do? What was your?
Oh, we just do different things our prof is. I think he teaches some improv classes at Second City. He used to be a performer too, so he just puts us through a bunch of different improv, games to help just improve our.
This is a class. This is you get marked on this.
Yes.
And so what did you? What was your character? What did you do? Were you?
No characters last night. One of the main things was he would give us. There'd be a group of 5 of us, and he'd give us a location, and we'd just have to start no talking, just doing actions to describe the location, adding little things one by one.
That's
just
exciting.
by miming them.
Well, it's tremendous.
A lot of fun.
We're gonna try this again, and
Come on, George.
come on, George. This is the wheel of fun once again. But Skype is working. Don't get mad at Skype.
Bonjour, vous avez rejoint Georges Jarac. S'il vous plaît, veuillez me laisser un message. Please leave a message.
Okay. So we will get back and we will
I'll
try
text
that.
them. I'll text them
Try
right
that once
now
again.
and,
I mean, it's
see if he's around.
you know what? He sees the freak number and probably doesn't realize that it's actually us. We use an American number out of Skype. Also, yesterday, as we mentioned, it was going to be a very bad day in college basketball, and it was. And so, the FBI basically has rocked college basketball to its core. There's no way that Rick Pitino was going to talk his way out of this one, and so he has gone along with the athletic director. And so you have to realize they won't give the death penalty. We talked about that yesterday, but the amount of those that would be recruited and committing to Louisville, they have according to ESPN, two ESPN 100 commits amid fallout. So 2 of the big ones have decided already they're not going because who's going to coach? Because you can't use the assistant coaches because they're the ones who brought a lot of the heat on. And you have to realize the FBI, I think at the end of the day, and here's what I think is going to be very interesting, Dave, those shoe companies, because it is a dirty, dirty business.
No, exactly.
I mean, it's a massively huge. I mean, look at the.
Let's just say they'll be happy to be wearing British Knights sneakers at the end of this.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to wear British Knight sneakers.
I think the old, what was it, Mastercraft from Canadian Tire that used to have the sewn on logo, plastic logo of your favorite hockey team. It cost $5. They might be wearing that shit because I got to tell you, at the end, I mean, and how do you get out of it, Dave? That's what I'm saying. The smoking gun is there, so the trail is there, and some of these people are going to roll over.
Yeah.
Some of those guys who are runners, they're going to roll over. So I don't know how bad it gets, but I'm telling you, you're in the crosshairs now of the FBI. I just don't know how they get out. You can't talk your way out of it. You can't.
No, exactly.
And if you're a big company, if you're Adidas, for instance, how do you get rid of that black mark?
Bingo.
I don't know. I don't know how you do it. So that certainly was a big story yesterday. Also, as we're waiting for yours, and Cami Granato, by the way,
Yes.
at the bottom of the hour.
Pat Stapleton, we're loaded today.
Yeah. Whitey, right?
Whitey
Stapleton.
That is Whitey Stapleton.
Yeah,
You're absolutely right.
Really great guy too. So we'll do that as well. Victor Newman's passionate picks. Maybe Bill Belichick's going pulling on. Hey, am I getting on? Just wait, Bill. Just hold on.
You know, the good part about that is if Bill isn't on today, there's still tomorrow, and I got a feeling Bill's going to be a regular.
Yeah, Bill will be a regular.
We had a lot of positive comments about Bill, and you know what? Bill does his playbook, but he also does a lot of scripting for his comedy act.
Yeah, he works hard on it.
He almost devotes just as much time to the comedy as he does to knocking off the Carolina Panthers this weekend.
I think Carolina Panthers. Yeah, we'll look at some of those numbers too. Again, Thursday nighter tonight. And also, of course, as I said, Victor will look at some of the college. There's some. This is an interesting week, Dave, when you take a look at it. But here's the one thing that I come away, and it's again after talking to Clark Judge, when you're only at week number 3. But I used to think there was some market corrections. But the one thing that I will stand by right now, and this is the opposite of almost every year when I've talked about this team being the biggest fraud, that it's all been smoke and mirrors. When they need to win, they don't. They beat up on kind of weak sisters, that they're a team that I just never buy into. But you know what? The Atlanta Falcons, I don't think you mess with them. They've got Buffalo, and I think Buffalo, as good as they are defensively, they've not seen anything like what they're going to face.
They're not going to stop Buffalo. Buffalo's not. Yeah, Buffalo's
not going to stop.
Buffalo's going to be a minor roadblock. I mean, the Atlanta Falcons, and take this how you want it, they're not going to lose at home this year. So as long as they're at home, they're not going to lose. That's how good this offense is. So, you know what? George hasn't responded back. I was going to say, do you want to phone Cammie right now just to have a quick chat with her so we could get to Pat, and then we'll try George a little bit later on as well?
We could do that. If you want to cover off something here, we can.
Absolutely. So we'll put that.
I will make sure that, and I will go to the magic of Skype as Dave tells you a story.
About what?
His childhood.
Oh, childhood stories. Okay, so basically, I'll get to that in a bit. Cammie Granado joining us momentarily. Hockey Hall of Famer, 2010, Olympic gold medalist, captain for Team USA in the 1998 U.S. gold medal team. I believe that was Japan, that they actually won in Japan. She's joins us today along with Team Snap. So basically, what she's partnering with is an app that kind of simplifies communication and coordination of sports, and having families of boys and girls, and figuring out where the hell you're going next, and where's the practice. Is it a gym? Is it a court? Is it something else? Well, Cammie's going to talk more about that. And you know what? We'll also bug her about the Vancouver Canucks this year, because I got a feeling the Canucks are going to stink. And that's not good news for any Canuck fan.
Well, we're going to surprise her with an early phone call.
That's right.
And where is she? Where are we calling, by the way? Do we know?
I think this is Vancouver.
Oh, so it's early.
Yeah, it's a little early. That's okay.
Hello?
Looking for Cammie Granado. It's Mike Richards calling from rawmikerichards.com.
Hi, Mike. It's me. Do you want to call my landline?
Yeah, you know what? Let me, you know what? Your contact is Dave Bastel, correct?
Yes, through Greg. Greg McIsaac actually gave us this number, Cammie. Should I contact him?
You can use it. It's just a cell. No, you can use it.
Okay.
I just didn't know if it was a landline was better.
Oh, no, this is fine. This works out okay. So do you have a couple seconds to chat with us now? We're a little bit early, but we thought we'd bug you and wake you up. And thanks for joining us so early. Can you tell us more about Team Snap and your association with it? Because, I'm a father of two as well. My girls aren't as old as your boys, but guess what? There's a lot of juggling going on between sports and dances and recitals and swimming. I mean, man, this is something that you've kind of grown up with, considering who your brother is and who your husband is, and sports is a big part of it. And organization, you have to have it, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I think when you play as an old, like I'm playing in the Olympics, and not everything's organized for you, but you realize how much your parents have done for you when you get older and have your own kids. And nowadays, everything's scheduled. Even play dates are scheduled. I mean, you have to really sit with your calendar and put everything in at the beginning of the season. And for me, my biggest lifesaver and time saver, and just sort of smooth, can kind of take away the stress, is the app, Team Snap. It's just been incredibly helpful for someone like me who's not by nature organized. It's made me completely organized. You never miss a game. You get alerts for any changes. What I loved most for me personally was the calendar entries. It goes automatically to your calendars. So it's synced up on your phone, it's synced up on your computer, and there's no work to be put in. That was the hardest part, is logging all those, putting all the games and practicing yourself. It took so much time. And now in just, one click, you go on and you see everything on your calendar synced up. So it's been fabulous for our family and for me personally.
Well, I think also, Cammie, when you start talking about those kinds of issues, I don't know how many rinks I've been in where all of a sudden the husband and wife start talking about who's taking who to where, because you have both the boys and the girls playing hockey. Sometimes it's in different towns, and quite frankly, at the same time. So therefore, I would think there's been a lot of, let's just say, some hostility amongst the house on where people have to be at what time. And I would think this has got to be virtually a godsend for that.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, my husband at first, I was like, you got to get on and subscribe. And he was like, yeah, whatever. And then finally when he subscribed, he's the one like telling me, did you see that change? There was a time was changed and the practice field was changed or something. And I'm like, okay, he's organized too. And we were on the same page and we can figure out, okay, we can look ahead at the calendar and see right there that there is a conflict. Another thing that's really cool too with the app like TeamSnap is you can go on it. You can ask someone within like, I don't know, a minute. You just click send to everybody and say, hey, my son needs a ride home from practice tonight. Can anybody take him? And you don't have to get on your email and find all your contacts. It's all in there. So that's been nice too for carpooling. And you got to get support for that too nowadays too if you have multiple kids.
We're on the line with Cami Granado, Hall of Famer, also Olympic gold medalist with Team USA, joining us on the program. It's really funny, Cami, as we speak, and we're live on RonMikeRichards.com and also YouTube.com in the mornings here. Not a word of a lie to you. Somebody has texted the show saying, our team uses TeamSnap, and it's been a lifesaver, and he actually screen grabbed what their schedule looks like for the next week. So, I mean, you're on.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're on to something. So basically, it is an app, and you enter everything you need to do, and it kind of works its way itself. Is that basically essentially it?
Well, you can Google it, or you can go on the App Store and you can download it. But essentially, the team would sign up for TeamSnap, and if you're a parent that has had another sports and one team's not on it, you can always convince them because it's so user friendly. So you get on, and someone would manage the site and fill in the schedule, and then all the parents are, just dialed right in because you get it through the iCal, you get it through text alerts. So it's just seamless. You can go on the website and look at all your teams are lined up. So if I jump on my TeamSnap right now, I've got my boys' 2 fall ball, baseball schedules with their team names, and then I've got their 2 soccer schedules, and then hockey. So you see all the teams lined up right on the app, but even better is just the fact that they're all in the calendar together. And then any up to the second change is alerted to you. So it's just so easy. And for me, it's the easiest one that I've used. And again, for an organizational thing, like I've actually been able to be managers of a team because it's so easy. So it's been fun. And it's something that we as a family really heavily rely on. I know a lot of Canadians and even in America, North America, it's becoming really popular, but it's if you don't have it, check it out. It's a lifesaver for time.
Now, you said that you're not that organized. Now, I was over in Ufa, Russia with Ray, and
okay.
So I know he was going over angry anyway. I just knew it. I could feel it. I could feel that he was angry already. So but he's packed and ready to leave and go back after about 72 hours. Like, we were there, it seemed like for months. It was actually about 2.5 weeks. But he seemed very, very organized because he talked about it.
He's very organized.
He said, I'm packed already. I go, the games haven't started yet. I mean,
Ray's a minimalist.
Because he was ready.
He's a minimalist. Yeah, he was ready. He. You should see him when he gets into a hotel room. He literally is. First of all, he's unpacked. His stuff's all in the drawers. His bag's in the closet. There's no mess. He's like, he unfolds the bed like just a little bit to get in it, and then it's like made when he gets back out of it. Like he's very. So we're the yin and the yang. We balance each other very well.
I was gonna say like the odd couple. So he's Felix. Is what you're telling me, but don't tell him I said that because I don't need that. I don't need that.
He'd self-admit that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's we talk so often to players, current players, former players, coaches, general managers, those who work with young kids, and the one thing that always comes up, regardless of the level of sport that your children are playing at, is the fact that it's organization that really is the crusher when it comes to family and family life. Because the one thing that sometimes, Cami, that I do also talk about is just how much hockey are our kids playing. How many sports and at what level and how intense? Because it concerns me at times. I mean, I'm glad to hear your boys playing baseball, because sometimes I talk to parents and they're talking about their children having literally a schedule that's probably as busy as a professional team. And sometimes these kids are 10 or 11, and it makes me feel uncomfortable.
No, you're absolutely right. It's such a hard balance. I mean, kids can be on the ice, or I know in soccer, one of my boys, he plays 5 times a week. You have to be really mindful of, is that enough or too much? And you also have to be careful of the whole high performance everything for the kids. It's great that they get the exposure to it, but it can't be our agenda. It can't be our, I'm so excited. You could be, of course you're excited and you're happy for your kid that they're doing what they want, but it's got to be what they want. The pressure does not have to come from the parents. I think that's one of the big things is parents get really caught up in the idea that their kid might be in an accelerated program, and they're at every practice analyzing, are they doing it? Are they keeping up? Are they doing okay? And it's sort of like that, like helicopter parent, the sort of the era we're in, right? I mean, we all do it by default, but if you really stop and actually think about it and think, how am I putting pressure on my kid? When they get in the car, am I talking about the practice? Because there's no way, in my belief, we should be talking about our kids at practice. Like, that should be a place where they're completely not being judged. They almost feel like they can't mess up in practice because they're being watched, right? And even I've heard parents coaching from the sidelines in practice, and let alone in games, because that's a whole nother ball game because it gets very intense. But I'm just saying, as a parent, you got to step back and think, like, maybe I'm putting pressure on my kid that I don't even know. Maybe even by, talking about how great they did, I'm still putting pressure on them. So it's something to be really mindful of as a parent in a sports. I think the whole tipping point, the Malcolm Gladwell, the author, Malcolm Gladwell, who talked about the 10,000 hours. I think parents have taken that to a whole new level and have really tried to specialize their kids when, we got to be careful of burnout.
Cami, one final question. We know you're on the west coast of Canada right now. What's the feeling going into this NHL season with the Canucks? Because there's been a lot of change and there's not high expectations, but are there any expectations on the season ahead for this relatively young team? And I know they have some veteran players, but a lot of new players coming into this year.
You know what? I think you nailed it when you said expectations. I think if the expectations are too high, then the fans are disappointed. But I think going into this year, just based on the last few seasons, I think everyone's knows it's going to be a young team. Some of the veterans can bring along these guys, and I think there'll be a little bit more patience, I'm hoping, with the fans to understand that this team sort of...
Yeah, we're still here.
Hello?
Oh, I can't hear you. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, did it cut out?
Yeah, just for a little bit.
Okay, so I'm not sure what you caught, but
basically,
my point was that I think with the extra. Oh, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, the line seems to be bouncing around. But look, Cami, thanks so much, actually, for the advice too. I think a lot of parents listening here today really appreciate, going beyond just the app itself. But it's certainly going to make life a lot easier. And you know what? Thanks so much for taking the time with us, Cami, because I know it's early out there in Vancouver, but that was just awesome
problem
today. That was great.
Thanks, Cami.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, take care.
That is Cami Granado joining us from the West Coast.
Yeah,
this
Vancouver,
morning.
just outside of Vancouver, I guess they're calling from, or she was at. So yeah, that's the number I got. That's why we called it.
Yeah.
We didn't want to call the other one.
We've got many matches, so we're going to...
let's call George. George just got back to me. So
okay, so
he
let's see
apologizes and everything's good.
See if this is actually the right number, because I'm doing something with Skype, and when you take Skype, oh boy, look at this! Oh my goodness!
Right,
oh my goodness! The fun we have with phones, huh? Fun with phones. It's like Bill Belichick's Comedy Corner. Let's see if we... at least we have some ringing, which is very positive.
Bonjour, vous avez reçu en direct.
boy.
S'il vous plaît, veuillez laisser un message. Please leave a message.
Okay, well...
Okay, on to our next guest, Pat Stapleton.
I think... Well, okay, here's what we're going to do, because there's other things. So
Because he is expecting us to call now.
This is phone fun, and you have to know how much fun this is for me, live on camera. I want to also mention today, of all the things we talked about at Team Canada, obviously that's where we're going to talk to Whitey Stapleton in just moments here. I can't believe the passing of Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner, who to many of us, a god. Hugh Hefner of the mansion. Do you realize he sold the mansion too a couple of years ago?
I didn't know that.
Sold for like $100 million.
That's it, eh?
With the because I think initially it was like $200 million, but I understand it was like $100 million,
so
or whatever.
A little bit of a deal.
And he said, just so you know, I get to live here till I die.
That's true. Actually,
that's-
I do remember hearing that.
That was
because he
his.
did pass away in the mansion.
He passes away in the mansion as possibly the happiest man who's ever. I mean, you think about it. If you could have anyone else's life, and I don't want to hear the married Dave Bastow. I want DJ Styles on this one. Think about it. Of all the lives that you could live, could there have been a better life than Hugh Hefner? I don't know of one. Well, I can't possibly imagine that there's anything better than what he has seen.
Not
and
even
what he
if
has done.
I presented to you the captaincy of the Winnipeg
Yeah,
Jets.
I was going to say, if you want to go Dale Howard Chuck on this one, but I have a feeling even if we ask Dale at some point,
Dale might say
he's going to go, oh, I'm taking Hugh Hefner.
Screw this.
Yeah.
I'm good with
Yeah, the Canada Cups, the whatever it is, the moments. Hugh Hefner. And so passing at 91, and he got married like
17 times.
And we'll also talk about some of our favorites too, that our moments of Playboy. Our moments with Playboy. Which, yeah, it's probably what you're thinking. That's exactly what happened. But the true alpha male, a guy who did it his way. Once again, this is courtesy of I believe it's ABC News, correct? I want to say that it's I believe it's ABC. That when this broke, I think last night.
Chicago. Rat Pack legend Sammy Davis Jr. singing on Hugh Hefner's show Playboy After Dark. That was in 1968. And Hugh Hefner was a playboy till the very end, throwing lavish parties well into his 80s.
What I tried to do from the very beginning was to try to give sex a good name.
But this American icon and founder of Playboy Enterprises began his life far from the Hollywood sex industry. In Chicago, Illinois, he always had a knack for writing. In 1952, when he says Esquire magazine denied him a raise, he set off to start his own magazine. Hef mortgaged his furniture and raised $8,000 from dozens of investors, including his own mother, Grace. Playboy's first issue was published in December 1953 and featured Marilyn Monroe on the cover, just as she was becoming a big star. That first issue of Playboy sold 50,000 copies. It was the beginning of an empire.
I want to live in a society in which people can voice unpopular opinions, because I know that as a result of that, a society grows and matures.
When I sat down with Hefner in 2011, he reflected on his life beyond the infamous Playboy Mansion parties and the bunnies. Hefner considered himself an activist, a rebel with a cause.
And felt from a very early age that there were things in society that were wrong and that I might play some small part in changing them.
But what Hefner was a man on a mission to alter society's conservative views on sex, politics, and social equality.
And then we started franchising. When they refused our members, the black members, entrance, I said, you can't do that. These are members of our club. And we literally bought back the franchise clubs.
We saw you with a young Jesse Jackson. I believe you were involved. You met Dr. King.
Dr. King actually came to the Playboy Mansion. He was in Chicago specifically to deal with the segregation that existed in Chicago. That is really how I met Jesse, and I was then very actively involved after King's death in the funding of PUSH and the Rainbow Coalition.
Hefner's personal life was just as public as his magazines, with his many relationships over the years. For his 88th birthday, he recorded a video diary of his life for CBS This Morning and said he was a misunderstood playboy.
Those that don't know you will label you a womanizer, but I know the truth. You're a hopeless romantic.
For all the women who walked in and out of Hef's life, there was one who always had a special place. A woman he never actually met, Marilyn Monroe.
You know I'm a sucker for blondes, and she is the ultimate blonde.
There it is right there. Once again, Hugh Hefner passing away at the age of 91. And again, sort of the controversy around it, when he talks about, equality, there's a lot of people who saw him as this sexist pig. And so that's why it was so polarizing. But as he would say, the women who were, of their own volition, going to that magazine, they always thought it was classy. They always thought it was well done. And they felt that they were empowered because they controlled it. They were the ones that were paid. They were the business people. And he always felt that was an outlet. And regardless of what people said, now hear a man who talked about, segregation and racial issues back, Dave, you're talking about Dr. King and Jesse Jackson. I mean, that's what we're talking about now. This is what I find when we talk about Will Strickland. I don't know how much we've really changed or how far we've come. But he certainly was groundbreaking and will always be known as that. But he's also known, again, for the magazine itself, which, as people said, they read the articles. I don't know if I read the articles, but I certainly saw other stuff. Yeah. And when I was young, I saw a picture of a certain girl that ended up being, I think, one of Hef's first girlfriends. And that's when I realized I had a special purpose. Barbie Benton was my girl. That was, I was first one. And Dave, I got to tell you, something was going on with me.
But the tan lines happened today.
Oh, it was so.
That was kind of the style, though.
That was good.
A lot of tan lines.
Did you have one that was your first?
Russell never ended up getting it, but that's okay. A number of them.
Oh, so I see. So you bailed.
No,
you
I never bailed. I mean, between phone lines and internet in this place, we may as well be locked up in a nuclear reactor somewhere.
What was the name of the girl?
Karen McDougal.
Karen McDougal, apparently.
Yeah, you got a story about this one.
Yeah, they're saying that Donald Trump fooled around.
You know what? I'm going to change my mind.
Fooled around on millennia.
I think I'm going to change my mind to something else.
You are. All right. Oh, you're saying in life you'd like to be Donald Trump?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I must have misread that.
I'm saying because of the.
I wonder if Pat Stapleton ever.
Pat Stapleton.
He would have done okay.
Well, do you remember some of the Marcel Dion stories we heard about?
Oh no, there's a lot of stories there. Our good friend Goldie, who worked at the Fan for years, he had some stories. A lot of them did. Okay, so we're gonna. This is appropriate music to call Pat. Whitey's gonna go. What is going on? So
What's happening here?
Let's take an attempt at Skype once again. As boy, we certainly have had a lot of.
This has been awesome.
Skype here today.
Hockey Heaven, Strathroy Division.
Well, I think this is Whitey Stapleton. This is Mike Richards calling from rawmikeRichards.com on a very special day, Pat.
Michael, do you know that many are called to Hockey Heaven, but few are chosen?
That I would believe. And so you, in floating around in your clouds there today, Pat, I got to say that we talk about these magnificent and true big hockey moments historically in Canada with all these different tournaments, whether it be an Olympic one or World Cups. And because being 54 and I've looked at all those championships and big gold medal moments, for me, it will always be 72. I don't think I've ever experienced a cultural I guess it was almost a collision that we saw back in there. I don't know if it'd ever be duplicated, but for that moment in time, I think that's why it changed the way that we played over here forever. That 1972 is the defining tournament for me, Pat.
You're not wrong, because most Canadian fans talk to us, and we've been out pretty active as a group the last 2 or 3 years. And they talk about the tremendous comeback of this team, like the will to win, that Canadian attitude, not giving up, right? And it was a team victory second to none when you figure the odds that were against this team to start with. I mean, the time of the year, 10 NHL teams coming together who really didn't like one another. And then over a period of 27 days, they become the team of the century. And, it's pretty riveting when you talk to Canadians, just like yourself, who remember that time in history. And we're very proud to represent Canada and active and giving back. Our guys have been so honored by Canadians that we formed a corporation in 2014 to give back to Canadians. And again, it isn't out there a lot, but this team has been honored in 72 as the team of the century. In 1997, which was the 25th year, Canada Mint offered a coin for the 25th anniversary, and Canada Post put a stamp out. And then in '99, they were honored as the team of the century. And 2000, the Canadian Mint again produced a statue that they have at the Hockey Hall of Fame there at Front and Yonge Street, honoring the team. And in 2005, Canada Sports Hall of Fame inducted the whole team, the first team ever inducted into the Hall of Fame. 2012, are you getting tired of hearing this stuff?
No, not at all.
2012, they were presented with a star on the Canada Walk of Fame. And 2012 again presented with the Canadian Jubilee Medal, the Queen's Jubilee Medal. Where else are we going here? This is an interesting one because in 2016, Parks Canada recognized the significance of the series and are putting bronze plaques at each of the 4 locations in Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, and Vancouver, where the games were played. 2017, I don't know whether people realize, but 13 of our members were elected as the top 100 players of all time in the NHL. And then Canada Post again in 2017 honored the team again with another stamp, commemorating the part of the 150 celebrations, and this is the 45th year of the series. So,
well, Pat, when you talk about all the things that happened during that series, now again, for myself as a kid watching it on television, most of those moments are ingrained in my mind because I'm watching it on TV. And this, of course, is before, for the most part, there was no sports television, so you're not going home to watch the highlights. You're not going home to see all the recorded VHSs and VCR machines weren't really all that prevalent at that time. And I remember talking to Pete Mahovlich saying he didn't see that goal that he scored in the Gardens. He only saw it about 20 years later, and he said, "Geez, that was a pretty good goal." It goes, it was one of the greatest goals I've ever seen. And I'm thinking,
it was a great goal. Gee. I mean, it's like a prize fight. Is it the first punch or the last punch? It was a series of 2 pretty spectacular hockey teams when you looked at them. I mean, they were ready to play. They were as good as we've ever faced as a team. And they come in 5-man units and put us back on our heels for a few games because we weren't prepared to play that kind of a series. I felt in the first game when they dropped the puck, the tension was like the 7th game of a Stanley Cup Finals. We were nowhere mentally there to play in that game or physically there. So did we get better over the 8 games? No question about it. Did they get better? I don't know. I don't know whether they played the same every game. And in the end, that maybe hurt them because they didn't have that spontaneity that Canadian players have. They're individual players committed to a group effort that creates a team. And we had some great individual efforts over the whole series to make it work. And that's why people are riveted to it because of the comeback. Let's take the last game, which was played 45 years ago today. We're down 1-0. We come back, we tie it 2-1. We come back. Parkey scores the first goal. Brad Park, the defense had got 8 games, and then Bill White got the second goal out of the defense to come back to tie it 3-3, and then we fell behind 5-3 at the end of the second, and then the rest is history. Phil picks up another goal. He had scored the first one. Cornway bangs one in, and then Paul bangs one in at the end. So is it a team effort? Certainly.
Yeah, it certainly is, Pat. Hey, it's great talking to you. I want you to fill in the blank for me here. So
sure.
Henderson scores for Canada. You pick up the puck. Where is the puck today?
I hate to tell you this because I don't want somebody to tear my house apart for a puck, right? Okay, so I keep it a secret.
Okay.
Someday we've got to figure out what to do with that puck, and our team has talked a lot about it because Canadians should see the puck. It belongs to the game. It belongs to the teams, and it's funny because we had just come back from Moscow and Sochi to spend the 45th anniversary with the players over there, and they kid about the puck, right?
Right.
They kid about it. So it's got legs, that puck, and we're not sure it walks around somewhere.
That's awesome.
Everybody that looks at it said, "That's not the puck." I said, "Okay, that's not the puck."
One of the things that still strikes me about the series, and it was more of a statement. It was more of an emotional plea than it was any moment on the ice, and that was Phil's speech. And I'm just curious for you on the team, how long was it afterwards where you actually saw what Phil said after the Vancouver game?
I believe it was 10 years after, because they had a get-together at 10 years point, and we saw it at that point, I think. But up until that point, I hadn't.
Wow.
And it was like you guys talk about, there wasn't the sports TV there was today. But, to see the goals, I think, if I remember right, Labatt's put out a video, was the first one that come out, and it could have been 10 or so years after that I saw it. The interesting part, I think, for Canadians, yes, it was a rallying point, but the Russians believed that they got recognition because of the series. They were not recognized by their own people, not respected because they had never played against the NHL players, and they got that. And that's why they celebrate this thing so often. They really do. It's incredible. So.
Well, it's, again, the moments that most of us carry around, but being a member of that team, Pat, it's literally like being one of the chosen ones, one of the chosen sons of this country, because there's a lot of different kinds of defining moments that this country has, but very few are going to really represent what we think we are as Canadians, as your team did. And in the times I've had a chance to talk to Paul about that series, and he's it's a very, for obvious reasons, a very spiritual thing for him. He played in those last 3-4 games like he's probably never played, not before and maybe not even after. But for those magical 3 weeks, 4 weeks really, of what that meant to Canada, Pat, I think for Canadians, we all just thank you. I mean, we thank you for what that meant to us. We thank you for what it has done. And let's be honest, the influence of what Russia brought to playing hockey in Canada, including training techniques, the style of play, some of the even the logistics of the X's and O's, and the language we use about playing hockey, it came from that series.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I think everybody feels, the fact that we had the opportunity to play in it and still talk about it is exciting. And part of our legacy is we this is going to be taught in the school systems about the adversities that we overcome and what Canadians it means to Canada to never give up. And the project is called From Legends to Legacies, 28,800 seconds, the power of teamwork, with thanks and gratitude for being Canadian. It means a lot to Canadians. It was a rallying point, as you said.
Pat, thank you so much on this very special day. I think I'll probably watch a couple of highlights, listen to Foster, change Yvonne Cornway's name a couple of times. But you know what? It's all part of our history, and we certainly thank you for that. And thank you for joining us here this morning.
Thanks, Pat.
The one thing that I want to share with you, that one of the things that we felt made a difference was the 3,000 Canadians when we left the ice after the fifth game, running out of time when it was 5-4. And 3,000 of them sang, "Oh, Canada." And if you see our guys and they talk about it, they get quite emotional about that moment. So we thank all Canadians, whoever was around, who wasn't around, and for keeping that memory alive, because it's a very important time in Canadian history.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Pat. You take care.
Thanks, guys. Continue to have a perfect day.
Oh, it will be. It will be.
Thank you.
Pat Stapleton, Whitey Stapleton joining us. And again, it's really hard sometimes to transfer what that meant when you weren't around. But I got to tell you, it really was the most nerve-wracking time that I can remember as a little kid, just because I was horrified that we weren't going to win.
Imagine
horrified.
how history would have changed itself if it was, over these last 45 years. It was Russia talking about doing this, and Russia putting out the stamps, and Russia putting out the...
It's like Back to the Future. What if Paul Henderson doesn't score?
Yeah.
are we going to try?
Yeah, George just wrote me again. He says, "I'm so sorry. I'm not sure why. I'm right by my phone waiting for you guys."
Okay, well, here's the, here's
come
the old
on. This is our last
Skypey.
try. This is our last try.
Come on, Skypey.
Hello?
Shorts, it's Mike Richards calling from rawmiterichards.com.
How are you doing?
I would say bonjour and comment ça va, mon ami?
Good, thank you. Good French.
Yeah, well, we're gonna. Thanks so much for joining us here today. Actually, George, it's falls on also the anniversary of the Paul Henderson Team Canada goal, and very often, we get into discussions on what influenced hockey players of different generations. And for myself, being 54, I look at that in 72, what that meant. But it's tough over the years, George, because you talk to younger generations, sometimes those moments are lost. Not everyone's a hockey historian, but to me it was one of the, if not the most significant tournament that Canada's ever played in.
Yeah, no, I agree with you and stuff. But if I didn't play hockey, I would have never seen and known about that history. But it's almost like, for us, it's like a Bible, right? All the history of hockey and all the great moments. When you try to make in the NHL, you see those images all the time, and the greatest moment in the NHL history, you see those moments. So, and those guys that many people don't know, we know them because of that. But I have to say that this is why the NHL is what it is today, because of how we played before, how we played the Russian, how those tournaments ended up, the skills and everything, and it's also why every year there's always so much pressure in Canada to win. It started back then, and we always take big pride in hockey because it's our culture.
It's a great point too. That's interesting, though, sort of equating it to like the Bible of hockey, because
it's a great point.
It's like the book of Genesis. It really does sort of start.
Yeah, in the beginning, there was water. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Now we're also living at a time. We had Will Strickland in yesterday. Actually, he gave you a video shout out yesterday because he was talking, being a Black American, born in New York, raised in the state of Texas. Played his basketball at Rice University. Very active man who really appreciated that your words towards the NHL and the Pittsburgh Penguins, saying that accepting the visit to the White House would be a mistake. Now, you're also on 91.9 Sports in Montreal, so you also have a platform to make statements. And your feeling, just for those that didn't catch it, your feeling about Pittsburgh going to the White House is what exactly, George?
Well, again, if we're talking about the name thing, because I have to talk about this first. For me, the best way that I've seen this is the way the Dallas Cowboys did. They kneeled before the anthem, and when the anthem was playing, they stood up. To bring awareness to this issue, I wouldn't have done it that way. I wouldn't have needed to bring controversy, to bring awareness to a problem. I respect the people that did it, and I know they're not doing it against the flag and against the Army. And we even saw people in the Army that endorsed and understood, and they were supporting Kaepernick. But there's obviously different ways, if you want to address something, to do it. But I respect people that are doing it. So just to talk about the knee thing, as much as I respect them doing it, I would have done it differently. When I'm talking about the fact that with the Penguins, it's embarrassing that the fact that they're considering going to the White House is because the person that is inviting them is insane. From day one, when he was in office, other than just the disrespecting that he has for people, for women, and everything, what he's done with the sport, it's something that is unheard of. To call athletes names and to put aside against them the NFL, the NBA, and all the major athletes, all the best-known athletes in the world have talked against Trump. And for the Pittsburgh Penguins to go to the White House, even if they say they go for the institution, it doesn't matter, because it's like if the greatest athletes in the world are talking against them, you have to unite with them, even if you don't know what's going on, you don't know, you're not really into this, because even the Steelers are into this. And how bad does it look in the same city when you have one team that takes a stand and the other team in the same city that doesn't? When I played there, and you live in a city where there's a lot of minorities. So, the timing is wrong to go there. At least you wait, and then you side with all the sports, because I don't know if taking a picture with Donald Trump is the best thing to do with the Stanley Cup, because it's something that'll stay with you the rest of your life. If you can go to the White House because you like the institution so much, and you could have a picture without him in it, then it's different, but that's not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You take a picture with him, and then what he's going to do, he's going to throw this in the face of all the other sports saying, look, they came, great team, respect. That's what he's going to do. He's going to use them to tweet again, to try to jam it on the other athletes, and we know that. And he already did some tweets about it. And that's why it makes them all look bad. And they shouldn't go.
You know what, George? I agree with you, and I'll also take it to another level. Not only does it affect the Pittsburgh Penguins franchise, and we're talking about ownership group, the players, everybody involved, but I think it harms the National Hockey League as an entity.
Well, you're right, because the league is trying to grow and try to be known better, because all the major sports are more popular, and hockey's try to fit in and try to be above, like basketball, the NBA, like NFL, all that stuff, baseball. It's so important. But when you look at stuff like that is going on, because hockey is so known as conservative, if you want more, because obviously hockey, for hockey to be more popular, minority has to be more acceptable. They have to want to play. And the truth is, in the South or in the United States, minority parents don't put the kids into sports, into hockey, because they're like, it's a white man's sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's too conservative. It's not right for you. Too much racism. But when something like this happens, what do you think is going to happen? The NHL is doing such a good job in diversity to say hockey is for everyone. But sometimes, as much as it sucks to mix in politics with sports, when something like this happens, you don't take the stand with all the other major sports, and you're like aside saying, we're aside from all this. Well, what's going to happen is that people are going to be again, you know what? Hockey is too conservative. Hockey is a white man's sport. They don't care. They don't care about the real issue. And that's why I don't want my kids to play hockey. And you're right, it's going to hurt them in the long run, because that's what the decision is going to do, because you have Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers on one side, and we have quiet hockey players that could never say anything, that are told to shut up, do whatever you're told, and then that's it. No opinion. We don't care, and it just makes them look bad.
We're in conversation with Georges Laraque here on rawmike.richards.com, on obviously the channel itself, and of course the YouTube dedicated channel here this morning. And George, what do you think then, as we approach the first game of the NHL? If you're looking at the league itself, what should the response be? Because I don't know if kneeling on the ice is, even logistically, if that's something that would happen. I know Joel Ward talked that he would do it. What do you think the league and the players will do if they do anything? What do you think will happen, or what do you think the response should be?
I don't think that people, honestly, as much as people doing it, I don't think people should be kneeling. It is I know that racial issues and injustice, inequality is a problem in the States, but it's too negative to do it that way. I would do it, and I would bring awareness another way. And the NHL, you could do something to say that, just a campaign, like something to show that we're together, and we like something soft, not something hard, like maybe the lock arms maybe could be something simple,
mm-hmm.
show you unification, something like that, but not kneeling. Don't do that, because it's going to be, a lot of people don't understand it, and actually a lot of people that are doing this now, they don't even understand why they're doing it, and that's just how sad it is. Last year when Kaepernick did that, people thought he was crazy. No athletes were doing it with him. People were afraid of their job, so this cost his job last year when he did it. This year it's easy to do so, because people are united against Trump, so it's easy to knee now. But it's almost like hypocrite, because what were you last year?
Yeah.
So
yes.
People in the NHL, if they do that, if people in the NHL do that now, it's going to be like, well, what were they last year again? They could have done it last year. They didn't. Well, you're going to tell me that Trump have to say this to you to realize that it's bad and now you want a knee now?
Bingo.
You wanted to knee, do it last year with Kaepernick, and then it says something. And that's why, in a way, when you're talking about kneeing and when I talk about the Penguins, I don't even talk about that. To me, the kneeing thing is the wrong way to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up, George, because if Donald Trump doesn't get on his smartphone and start tweeting out stuff about NFLers and stuff like that, this whole past weekend probably doesn't exist as far as the kneeling down is concerned, does it?
Yeah, no. Donald is doing this to get fake applause, but, and everything he does is calculated in what he does. But the one thing that I don't think that he knew what would happen when he did all this is that it was going to actually unite all the athletes in all the sports and everybody against him. But, at the end of the day, it did affect the ratings in sports.
Yeah.
The people that are the paying customer, people that are watching it and stuff, this freak show that's going on now, people that want to watch sport to relax and to not think about politics and all their problems at home, it's not that I wouldn't say that they don't understand what's going on and they don't want to endorse it, but for them it's too much. And this problem right now, like that's why like the new thing and stuff, if you find another way to do it and stuff, you could do it a more positive way to talk about a problem than doing something that someone could use to make you look bad, even though you don't meant to mean for that reason. And that's why when I look at that, as much as I understand it, the point is made, but let's find another way to do campaign for sensibilization, but not like that.
George, thank you so much. Merci beaucoup for joining us here this morning. Always love catching up with you. I assume then you're loving the job on 91.9 Sports in Montreal?
Mike, ever since I've always followed your lead, I always want to be like you. I'm doing it in French, what you're doing in Toronto, in England.
Hey, George, before we let you go, I wanted to share a story quickly about you. 1999 in Edmonton. It was my first ever job in television, and this was basically your breakout year with the Oilers. And I was working for The Score at the time. And I couldn't thank you enough for just being a guy I could rely on to talk to get a clip on the game. That roster, that Edmonton roster, Mike Greer, Ethan Moreau, Ren Murray, Tommy Salo, Dougie Wade, Bill Guerin. You guys were fantastic, and it's funny that you and I both kind of started off at the same time, and here we are today talking in Toronto about obviously a bigger issue, but it's nice talking to you, and I just wanted to thank you for being such a class act right from the beginning, right when you were actually establishing yourself as an NHLer in the city of Edmonton.
All right, thank you very much for the compliments, guys, and anytime you need me, now you know my number. Call me whenever. I'm always happy to be on your show.
Oh, that's great. Merci beaucoup. And à la prochaine, mon frère.
À la prochaine, merci. À la prochaine.
That is the one and only George Larocque joining us here on rawmikericards.com. Took 3 times, but boy, that was worth it.
Yeah,
that was really good.
No, it really was, and he apologized. He says because he literally texted me back and said, "I'm looking at my phone; it's not coming through. I don't understand why it isn't working." But we've had a history of our little Skype system not working, and we're trying to rectify it.
Yeah. But the Skype actually was good.
Yeah, but today it came through. I mean, but outside of not being able to connect right away, but
now tell me.
Fire away.
Because he said such a nice thing about me.
Yeah.
And a personal story.
Yeah.
Is that why you threw in your personal stuff there at the end, too?
Yeah, I had to try to.
Is that what I
never quite got to that level.
Right?
But,
well, George.
Yeah, no. Well, no, okay.
You might remember me.
Honest story. So I send him a note last night before I go to bed. Obviously, I'm not waiting for the message. I wake up. And there's a message on my phone at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's from him. And so we're going back and forth, and then I said to him, I covered the Oilers. That was my first job, and then we started trading off names and back and forth. So I actually have a chain letter of stuff, and I said, you know what, I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but I got to get going, blah blah blah. So that's he kind of knew it was coming, but I wanted to kind of expand on it because as you know, sometimes you have those messages via text where you're like, I got to call you because this is way too long to write. And, I'll talk to you later about it. But honestly, he's really, what I like about George Laraque is he's been there. He understands the game from a different level, being a minority in a white person's league, so to speak, has succeeded and still exceeds today doing a similar type of job that we do, but has a perspective probably unlike anybody other. And I'm glad that he actually said, you know what, let's do this again, because we will take him up on that offer.
No question. No, absolutely. And the other thing, too, that I think is very interesting, he's not for the kneeling during the anthem.
Yeah.
It's fractionally different between others, which is what we call freedom of speech. He's someone that feels that is disrespectful. And you have to respect that is his opinion. And that's why this is such a volatile issue, Dave, because you move a centimeter in one direction or the other, or an inch one way or the other, and you have someone who feels differently, even though the end goal, quite honestly, is the same. So that is why I think this story certainly doesn't end now. I mean, who knows what's going to happen this weekend? You've got Major League Baseball playoffs coming up. You also, of course, have the first games of the NHL. Who's to say? Who knows? And you don't think the NBA? We've already heard statements. It will be interesting to see what this influence does, because at this point right now, I don't know. I have hope for something positive coming from it. But as Will Strickland said yesterday, there also is a fear of, what if this pushback that you're doing philosophically doesn't get what you want, or at least the result you'd like to see? Does it turn into something else? And that's what he's afraid of. Yeah. No, I shouldn't say afraid of, but a possibility of something being that ugly. Now, he's had to wait. Now, Bill Belichick, by the way, we keep putting it out there. So I'm sorry, Bill, tomorrow. Don't make that face. Oh, he's not making a face.
That's just normal.
No. Sorry. He'll be on tomorrow, but I think the
by the way, Tickety guy, you're good on Green Park, right?
Yes, I've
Tickety Thompson here. Some of the worst people ever are ticketing cars in front of us.
So I'm using that Green P app. I hope.
I can't recommend that enough. That was a good recommendation by you, because I actually have it on my phone too.
Yeah. Told Craig Venn,
you just control it from your actual smartphone. It's like, no, you don't. I'm adding time. I'm adding time.
Yeah.
Too bad, Dick.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I hopefully
his
Victor,
name's Richard.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is the limousine coming by? Is that switch cameras there? There we go.
I had a feeling that he was coming, because they were kind of towing cars out of the way. All of a sudden, this big ass black limousine comes in. So of course, it's Thursday. It's Victor Newman. Victor, welcome back. Good to see you once again, my friend.
Look, let's just cut out the crap, all right?
I was trying to be nice.
You're not damn nice, and I know it. You know how I know? It's your DNA. And you know where your damn DNA comes from. I don't know who your mother lives with now. He's a bum, all right? I think he was that man picking up cigarettes behind me a couple of minutes ago.
He was,
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix this up, and you're going to like it. Victor Newman was very disappointed in losing a couple of college football games last week. Well, I'm not going to lose this time, I can guarantee you that. Let's start with soccer and the sexy Europa League. The first game, Manchester... Oh, actually, this is the Premiership. I made a damn mistake. Russell, you shut the hell up, all right? You made a mistake. You made me make a mistake. Manchester United versus Crystal Palace. Here's what I'm going to do. Take Manchester United to score in both halves. You simply have to say yes. Just like a lot of women say to Victor Newman. You know, I played a lot of soccer in my time.
Apparently.
Yes.
Really short shorts, too.
I could put my ankles behind my head. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Here's the Europa League. Athletic Bilbao. And it's not Bilboa like Russell said earlier, like Rocky. It's not how you pronounce it.
It isn't.
Playing some shit team from Ukraine, I think. Take the Asian handicap, -1.5 at a 175. You're going to win for sure. Trust me. I know. I'm Victor Newman. You got that? Look at college football. Georgia at Tennessee. Nice job, Tennessee. They're called the Volunteers. And last week, they volunteered to be terrible.
Is that what they did, eh?
The Bulldogs going to go in there. It's a terrible number. at -7.5. Do not worry about that. The Bulldogs, they're going to bite hard, and they're going to win. Montreal at Calgary in the CFL. This is an easy one. Damn, Montreal is terrible. A huge number for the Stampeders at 17.5. Do not worry about that. They're going to cover. Just like Victor Newman does when he goes to Calgary, as I cover a woman, her naked body, with my muscular body. Would you like to feel my thighs, David?
No, I'm good. I'm still reacting with that ankle thing.
And finally, Saskatchewan at Ottawa. Damn, Ottawa's terrible. Did you see Richardson is going to be playing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders as running back?
No, I didn't.
That's right. Former Cleveland Brown.
Okay.
And Oakland Raider is now going to be running for Saskatchewan at -3. You can put that one in the bank. That's with them money, and so am I. I'm Victor Newman. You got that? Now back to David.
Thank you, Victor. Always good seeing you. Victor Newman joins us each and every single Thursday here on rawmike.richards.com. So, tomorrow, Bill Belichick. We get into more of the betting scheme of, our picks. Jimmy the Bag isn't here, though, right?
Jimmy the Bag will be tomorrow.
Oh, he is coming.
He's got a huge announcement, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Jimmy the Bag.
I know his schedule's busy, and
Can we just show the picture of Barbie Benton one more time before I go? Oh, did you show Victor Newman's actual picks? Here are the picks coming up. Here they are. Here's what he took today. So we'll make sure when we put it out as a promo, there are the picks. Actually, they're good ones, too. And I like his Georgia pick. They'll wipe out Tennessee. 7.5 is a terrible football number.
Volunteer to suck.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty good.
I thought that was really good.
Can we show that picture of Barbie Benton before we go? Because I got to tell you, it just brings back such. Here we go. Look at that. It's almost like your the music you have for the Bastel Foreplay, which is tomorrow, along with the.
That's good music.
Sexy Picks at Gold Sex. Look at this.
And Mike Luck doing the voiceover. Perfect.
Yeah. Can't you make that any bigger, Russell? No. Talk about the photo. So wrong. Why is he got to do those jokes? Why does he always have to try to ruin the show? Oh, no, that is so good. So was he, gone and passed away at the age of 91. See you later, Hef. It was good.
What?
It was a good one. No, it's true.
Did we just become best friends? Yep. You want to go do karate in the garage? Yep. It's time!
Well, we certainly have a lot of people to thank today. Huge thanks to, well, first of all, Cammy Granado. Now, it's called the Snap app. I want to make sure I get that correct.
Team Snap.
Team Snap. That's
not Snap into a Slim Jim, but Team Snap.
Team Snap. It's going to help you organize your day with your children that play sports. It's an organizer, unbelievable. And then Pat Whitey Stapleton from the 72 team. They're always such great guys.
Yep.
Hockey heaven. He answers his phone. Hockey heaven.
That was awesome. I think he may have been expecting us.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think he just might answer it that way all the time. And George Larocque, by the way, we'll definitely have him on again, one of our favorites. Have yourself a great day. Busy day again tomorrow. Jimmy the Bag, huge announcement.
Churn.